Hello, I'm Professor Allison, and I'm going to say a few words about Patriots' Day, the third Monday in April, a big holiday in Massachusetts and in the state of Maine. But Patriots' Day hasn't always been Patriots' Day. The Puritans left behind two holidays, Thanksgiving in the fall, when people would give thanks for survival, for a bountiful harvest if they had one, for the various blessings God had permitted them to enjoy. Then there was a springtime holiday, a time of penance, Fast Day, where people would fast and pray and think about their sins. Well, of course, Thanksgiving gets a big boost in the Civil War period when President Lincoln proclaims days of Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving remained. But Fast Day was more of a problem for a variety of reasons we don't need to discuss. Perhaps people have a harder time reflecting on their sinfulness than being thankful for what good things they have enjoyed. So by the late 19th century, Fast Day, which still was a holiday in Massachusetts, had been diverted from its original meaning. People were not fasting and praying and thinking about their sins. Instead, because Fast Day often was the first nice day of the year, people would go and have sailboat races or bike rides, or there was also a lot of public drinking going on Fast Day. And it was thought this wasn't an appropriate way to mark this holiday. Thanksgiving is fine because that becomes a time for people to gather with their families and give thanks, but Fast Day was a little more problematic. So it was decided to do away with Fast Day, but you can't simply eliminate a holiday. You should replace it with something else, and something which people won't abuse with sailboat races, bike rides, public drinking. Well, the town of Concord had always observed Concord Day, April 19th of 1775, when the Concord militia and militia from other places had gathered at the North Bridge and repelled a British invasion. In fact, in the 1830s, Ralph Waldo Emerson had commemorated this day with an ode. It's inscribed on a marble cenotaph at the site of the North Bridge. By the rude bridge that arched the flood, their flag to April's breeze unfurled. Here once the embattled farmers stood and fired the shot heard round the world. By this green bank, by this soft stream, we set today a votive stone, that memory may their deed redeem when, like our sires, our sons are gone. Spirit who bid these heroes dare to die and leave their children free, bid time and nature gently spare the shaft we raise to them and thee. Setting a marble marker here so that people will remember this deed, and the town of Concord remembered it by having Concord Day. Concord proposed, how about having Concord Day on the 19th of April? Well, the neighboring town of Lexington objected to this because Lexington observed Lexington Day on April 19th, when, of course, the Lexington militia had mustered on the town green in 1775 and had not repelled the British who marched on to Concord, but nonetheless had shed the first blood in the War for Independence. I believe it was Captain Parker who said, "Stand your ground, don't fire unless fired upon, but if they mean to have a war, let it begin here." Well, Governor Frederick Greenhalgh didn't think that the other 349 towns in the Commonwealth would go along with either Lexington Day or Concord Day, and he also didn't agree to the compromise Lexington and Concord proposed, which was Lexington and Concord Day. So he needed something else. And he realized that not only was the 19th of April the anniversary of that first clash of the War for Independence, it also was the anniversary of the day in 1861 when troops from Massachusetts, fighting their way through the mobs in Baltimore to go to the defense of the nation's capital in the Civil War, had suffered their first casualties. The first Massachusetts casualties of the Civil War had fallen on April 19, 1861. So thinking about these events, the American War for Independence, the American Civil War, one resulted, of course, in the formation of the nation, the other resulted in its survival and unification. Greenhalgh in 1895 proclaimed the 19th of April as Patriots Day. And it would be a day marked by solemnity and by reflecting on the sacrifices of our ancestors, those folks whom Emerson said, those heroes who dared to die and leave their children free. So the 19th of April, 1895 was the first Patriots Day. And there was some solemnity and a marking of this somber anniversary and a reflection, but there also were sailboat races and bike rides, and also, I understand, a great deal of public drinking. However, Patriots Day has stood. In fact, one of the first events of Patriots Day was a bike ride from Lexington and Concord to Boston. Biking was a popular pastime in the 1890s. In 1897, a group of runners from New York thought this would be a good time to have a long run, so they had a marathon, actually, from Concord to Boston. Later on, they changed the route from Hopkinton to Boston. Starting off with a dozen runners in 1895, now thousands will run from Hopkinton to Boston on Patriots Day. In 1969, when the country was thinking more about having 3-day holidays than setting aside holy days to commemorate events, Patriots Day was moved to a Monday, the third Monday in April. Harvard doesn't observe Patriots Day because Harvard, of course, predates both the American Revolution and the Civil War and doesn't have time for such ephemera as this. However, the rest of the Commonwealth does. Massachusetts and Maine observe Patriots Day, a day both to reflect on the sacrifices of our ancestors as well as to enjoy one of the first days of spring. And we should also remember that if we are enjoying and are pursuing our own destinies, that is exactly what those ancestors wanted us to do. Thank you.